The first day at Ridgewood Heights High was supposed to feel like a fresh start, but for the new girl, Emily Warren, it began with the kind of silence that carried weight, a silence that wasn't welcoming, but watchful. She stepped through the tall brick gates with her backpack slung over one shoulder, her pale blonde hair tucked behind her ear, and her eyes scanning the campus where hundreds of strangers moved about with the confidence of people who belonged. Emily wasn't used to being the outsider. Back in her old town, she was just another student blending into hallways and classroom noise. But here, at Ridgewood, she wasn't just new, she was different, and people noticed instantly. Ridgewood Heights was a community with deep, tangled roots. Generations of families had grown up here. Outsiders were rare, and the ones who didn't fit the unspoken mold stood out like chalk lines on dark pavement. Emily didn't understand this yet. She just wanted to find her first class without drawing attention, but that hope vanished the moment she crossed the courtyard and realized people weren't just looking, they were staring, whispering, snickering. At first, she pretended she didn't hear anything, clutching her schedule and hurrying toward the main building. But the words floated toward her anyway, sharp, mocking, intentionally loud. "Who's the new snowflake?" a voice snickered from behind. "Probably lost. This isn't her kind of place." "Yeah," another voice added. "She doesn't belong here." Emily's steps faltered, but she kept walking, swallowing the uneasy tension rising in her chest. She had heard rumors online about Ridgewood Heights being cliquey, but she didn't expect hostility on sight. She brushed it off, telling herself it was just first-day awkwardness, but when she reached her locker, the situation grew worse. A group of 3 girls approached Ariana, the tall one with sharp eyeliner and sharper eyes, Talia, her sidekick with a cruel smirk, and Jade, whose silence made her presence even more intimidating. They moved like a coordinated unit, blocking the light, blocking Emily's escape route. "You're new," Ariana said, her voice dripping with the authority of someone who controlled the social map. "And you stand out." Emily forced a small smile. "Just trying to get to class. Just trying not to get lost?" Talia mocked in a high-pitched imitation. "Ah, cute." Ariana leaned closer, examining Emily like an animal in a cage. "You look out of place. This school's not really for people like you." Emily blinked. "People like me?" "Yeah," Ariana said, crossing her arms. "People who don't belong." The comment stung. Emily opened her mouth to respond, but the bell rang, slicing through the tension. Ariana smirked. "See you around, new girl." They walked off, laughing, leaving Emily standing frozen by her locker. The day dragged on with similar encounters, glances that lasted too long, whispers that died when she turned her head, snickers in classrooms, a note slipped onto her desk that simply read, "Go back." She tried to shake it off, telling herself that kids were cruel anywhere, but the feeling of being targeted clung to her like a cold fog. In her last class of the day, history, things escalated. Emily found an empty seat near the back, hoping to quietly blend in, but the moment she sat down, the group from earlier filed into the room. Ariana spotted her instantly, nudging her friends and pointing with a mocking grin. "Let's sit next to the tourist," she whispered loudly. The girls surrounded Emily's desk, pulling up chairs so close she felt boxed in. "So," Ariana began, leaning her elbows on Emily's desk, "where exactly are you from? Some perfect little suburb?" "Just moved from Ridgeville," Emily replied quietly. "It's not that different." "Oh, it's different," Talia said. "People like us don't mix with people like you." Emily stiffened. "What does that even mean?" Ariana smirked but didn't answer. The history teacher entered, and the girls finally dispersed, but the tension never left the air. When class ended, and Emily packed her things, she noticed Ariana whispering to her friends while eyeing her phone with a wicked grin. Emily didn't know it then, but a plan was forming, a cruel one. She headed toward the courtyard, relieved that the day was almost over. But relief was premature. As she walked past the old storage building behind the gym, someone grabbed her shoulder. Before she could react, a hand covered her mouth. Panic surged as 2 girls, Talia and Jade, pulled her behind the building where Ariana stood waiting with a roll of duct tape and a rope, the kind used for gym equipment. Emily tried to scream, but the hand muffled her voice. She kicked, struggled, fought, but she was outnumbered. The girls shoved her against the wall, taping her wrists together, tying her ankles, binding her like she was nothing. Emily's heart pounded violently. "Stop. Let me go," she cried, but her voice trembled with fear, her words swallowed by the laughs of her attackers. Ariana crouched in front of her, tilting Emily's chin up. "We told you, didn't we? You don't belong here. Maybe if you're tied up, you'll understand where your place is." Emily's breath broke. Please don't," Ariana laughed coldly. "Relax. We're just teaching you a lesson." They tightened the ropes until her skin burned, and Emily felt tears slipping down her cheeks, not from pain, but from humiliation, from pure helplessness. She didn't understand why this was happening. She didn't understand why her. Talia pulled out her phone. Let's get a pic. Make it clear the new girl knows her place. They posed next to Emily like she was a trophy, a joke, a prop. Emily shut her eyes, wishing the world would swallow her whole. But just as Ariana raised her phone higher, a voice thundered across the alley, deep, authoritative, furious. What is going on here? The girls froze. Emily gasped through tearful eyes as the principal, Mr. Rowan, stormed toward them with a livid expression she had never seen on an adult's face before. Ariana's confidence shattered. Talia dropped her phone. Jade backed away quickly as if the shadows might hide her. We were just," Ariana stammered. "You were assaulting a student," Mr. Rowan snapped. "Untie her. Now." The girl scrambled, hands shaking as they pulled at the ropes. Emily winced as her wrists were freed, the skin reddened and raw. Mr. Rowan knelt beside her, his voice gentler now. "Emily, are you all right? Can you stand?" Emily nodded shakily, clinging to his arm as he helped her up. Then Mr. Rowan turned to the bullies, his voice echoing like a verdict. "Do you know who this is?" The girls remained silent, trembling. Mr. Rowan's next words cut through the air like thunder. "Her full name is Emily Warren, daughter of Dr. Benjamin Warren, chairman of the state education." The walk to the principal's office felt surreal for Emily, as if her feet were touching the ground but her mind was floating somewhere far above her body, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. Mr. Rowan stayed close beside her, his steps firm, protective, and filled with a kind of anger that wasn't directed at her but at the injustice he had just witnessed. Students in the hallway paused to stare, whispers followed them like shadows, but this time, they weren't laughing, they were confused, startled, curious. The rumor mill had already begun spinning, and Emily could feel eyes on her not with mockery but with a strange mix of guilt and awe. She didn't look at anyone, she kept her gaze forward, trying to steady her breathing. Her wrists still stung from the rope burns, and her legs felt like jelly from fear and adrenaline. As they entered the office, the secretary jumped to her feet. "Is she all right? Should I call someone?" Mr. Rowan shook his head but spoke sternly. "Get the school nurse here immediately. And cancel my remaining meetings." Emily was guided to a chair, and when she finally sat down, her body slumped with exhaustion. The weight of the day pressed on her shoulders, and for a moment, she wondered if she should have never moved here. But before the doubt could take root, the nurse arrived and gently attended to her wounds, cleaning her wrists, checking her pulse, asking soft questions Emily could barely answer. Meanwhile, Mr. Rowan stepped into his office, and through the open door, Emily heard his voice, cold, commanding, unyielding, as he called for the bullies to be escorted in. Minutes later, Ariana, Talia, and Jade were marched into the room by a security monitor. Their heads were lowered, their confidence shattered. Emily watched them through the doorway, and for the first time since meeting them, she saw something other than cruelty on their faces: fear, regret, panic. "Sit," Mr. Rowan ordered. The girls obeyed without a word. He paced in front of them, his jaw clenched. "What you did today," he began, "was not bullying. It was not teasing. It was assault, humiliation, and cruelty. You tied a classmate up. You attempted to film it. You intended to spread it." Ariana flinched. Talia wiped a tear. Jade stared at her shoes like she wished she could disappear. Mr. Rowan, please," Ariana whispered. "We didn't know who she was." Mr. Rowan slammed his palm on the desk, making them jump. "You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them like a human being." The office went dead silent. Emily felt something swell in her chest, not pride, exactly, but a strange mixture of validation and disbelief. Someone was fighting for her. Someone who didn't even know her. "Your parents will be contacted," Mr. Rowan continued. "A suspension hearing will be scheduled. And until further notice, you are not to speak to Emily, look at Emily, or go near her." Ariana's voice cracked. "Please, we're sorry, tell that to her," Mr. Rowan replied coldly. The girls slowly turned their faces toward Emily, but Emily quickly looked away, unable to bear the embarrassment of their forced apologies. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want them to grovel. She wanted to feel safe. After the girls were escorted out, Mr. Rowan returned to her side with a gentler expression. "Emily, your father will be informed. You are not in trouble. You are the victim in this situation." Emily nodded weakly, though her heart was still racing. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't expect anyone to help." "You deserve to feel safe in this school," he said. "And I will make sure you are." For the rest of the day, Emily stayed in the office until the final bell rang. When she finally stepped outside, the campus looked different, not physically, but emotionally. Students lingered unusually long in the courtyard, watching her with hesitant, almost guilty eyes. Word had spread. Everyone knew what had happened behind the storage building. Some were curious. Some were sympathetic. Some were secretly relieved someone had finally stood up to Ariana and her crew. As Emily walked toward the gate, a boy from her history class jogged over. "Hey, Emily, right?" She nodded cautiously. "I'm Marcus. I heard what happened. I'm sorry. People here can be weird with new students." Emily managed a small nod. "Thanks. If you ever need someone to walk with, just say the word," he said gently before heading off. Others gave her similar glances, some apologetic, some impressed, some clearly unsure how to approach her. But it wasn't until she reached home that the emotional dam finally broke. The moment her bedroom door shut, she collapsed on her bed and sobbed, not because she was weak, but because she had stayed strong for too long. Hours later, her father arrived home early after receiving Mr. Rowan's call. Dr. Benjamin Warren was not a man easily shaken, but when he stepped into Emily's room and saw her tear-streaked face, something in him cracked. "Emily, sweetheart, what happened?" She told him everything, every whisper, every shove, every cruel word, every rope burn. He listened in silence, his jaw set in anger but his eyes soft with concern. "No one," he said firmly, "hurts my daughter. And no child deserves what you went through today. I will handle this at the board." Emily wiped her eyes. "I don't want the whole school to hate me." Her father's voice softened. "They won't. And the ones who do? They were never worth your time." The next morning, Emily didn't want to go to school, but she did. Not because she was brave, but because she refused to let fear control her. When she walked into the courtyard, everything stopped. People turned. Whispered. Stepped aside. But this time, the space they gave her wasn't rejection, it was respect. Even if she didn't understand it yet. Then something unexpected happened. A girl approached, small, nervous, clutching her books tightly. "Emily," she said softly. "My name's Rosa. I just wanted you to know I'm glad you're okay. Ariana bullied me last year too." Emily blinked in surprise. "She did?" Rosa nodded. "Everyone's scared of her. No one stands up to her. But, yesterday, you didn't break. You survived her." Emily wasn't sure whether that was true, but hearing it made her shoulders straighten just a bit more. As she walked through the halls, other students quietly nodded at her, some offering sympathetic looks, others stepping aside respectfully. Something had changed, not just in them, but inside her. By lunchtime, the whole school had heard the newest rumor. Ariana, Talia, and Jade were facing suspension, their parents had been called in, and Mr. Rowan was furious. But the most shocking rumor of all? That the new girl wasn't just the daughter of a powerful education board member, she was tougher than she looked. Still, not everyone was happy. Across the cafeteria, Ariana glared from her isolated table, her eyes burning with humiliation. Her friends sat silent, their power stripped away. And as Emily passed with her lunch tray, Ariana muttered under her breath, "This isn't over." Emily felt a shiver, but she didn't change her path. She sat at an empty table, but she didn't stay alone for long. Marcus joined her. Then Rosa. Then two others who had been quietly watching from afar. They didn't crowd her. They just sat close enough to show she wasn't alone. It was strange how a single day could turn a nobody into a symbol without her doing anything heroic. Emily didn't want to be a symbol. She just wanted to survive high school. But fate had never asked for her permission. And by the time the final bell rang, Emily knew something she hadn't known before: she wasn't powerless. She wasn't invisible. And she wasn't done fighting. As she left campus, she lifted her chin with a quiet strength. This was her school now too. And no rope, no bully, no cruel whisper could take that from her. If you're enjoying this story and want more powerful videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more intense, emotional, and meaningful stories to life.